harnessing the power of your intellect, your thinking, Gemini, seems to be really a karmic lesson for you, but particularly this month, April 2016, an even more important task at hand for you. I say that because there will be a conjunction of your ruling planet Mercury with Uranus that can scatter you in all of the 8 esoteric directions if you're not careful. You have quite a few planets there in your 11th house, so much of this scatty intellectual behaviour may take place in the context of friendships, your networking, that sort of thing. A couple of things happen. On the 6th, we see Venus, a very friendly planet to you, moving out of your 10th house of career into this zone of social activity. And a day later, we see the new moon taking place here in the sign of Aries. That means no less than 5 planets occupying the social sphere of your horoscope. So this dominates your activities during the month, at least for the first part of it. I guess we do see, as an example, the transit of Mercury on the 6th as well. There's a lot happening on the 6th and 7th, as you can see, as it passes that conjunction of Uranus, that sort of explosive electrical nervous energy, into a more stable sign, Taurus. That's happening with Venus simultaneously moving into your zone of friendships and the new moon on the 7th. Now there's a strong connection to the 12th house and the 11th house. This means friendships can dissolve, and the reason I say that as well is because we see the rulership of Venus ruling your 5th house of love affairs. And that is in the 11th house of friendships. That moves to what we call a right angle of Pluto later in the month. That's taking place on the 20th. I know I'm jumping around a bit, but I want to give you the reasoning behind my assessment. And that can show some dramatic shifts, friendships moving out, moving away, new friendships forming, especially under the new moon that takes place there in the same locality. You've also got the ongoing conjunction of Mars and Saturn, your sign of Sagittarius, which is your relationship sector. That's a tough one. And later in the month, we see Mars moving into retrogression. That's on the 17th, with your ruling planet on the 29th going retrograde, just before the month ends. So we see there Saturn already retrograde, Mars going to retrogression on the 17th. A lot of double takes on your approach to relationships. A lot of frustration as well, I might add, with those two diametrically opposed energies, Mars and Saturn, in that area. On the one hand, you want to push your relationships forward so hard and so fast, yet you've got the limiting Saturn energy in retrogression holding you back. So that's something you must deal with. And you've also got the conjunction of the moon and Pluto in your 8th house of sexuality and shared resources, financial resources. This is something you need to deal with on an inner level, and I've been using this as the theme for many of the star signs today, including, if you saw the introduction that I gave, to the necessity to manage yourself rather than the relationship. We look at the relationship as somehow being the other person having to change. You need to make the appropriate changes in yourself, in your relationships, for that to be reflected in the relationship. Jupiter continues in its 4th house transit, also retrograde. You see, all this retrogression is basically taking you back across old ground, giving you a second chance to reappraise the changes that you need to make in your life. sometimes it's unfortunate that the understanding of what the reappraisal brings and the changes that are necessary come too late. Because if you've already made those changes, and this is in respect of your property, your housing, your domestic situation, your mother, your family, then some of those changes may not be prompt enough. So you simply have to wear the karma of that, because we see Jupiter and the karmic node, they're also in close proximity in your 4th house. That incidentally has something to say about your vehicles too. So those of you wanting to buy a new vehicle may find yourself a little bit hamstrung at this time. May be opposed by people in your family, your partner, again because of the Mars and the Saturn in the 7th house. Things are not going to go as easily as you want, but you're the consummate communicator, being ruled by Mercury. And if you can tie up a lot of those loose ends before the very last couple of days of the month when Mercury goes retrograde, then you might still have a chance to persuade those other people in your life differently. I'll be back next month, I hope you will. For those of you that are new, thanks for joining me as well. Visit astrology.com.au. We've got a more detailed analysis, the chronological component. I forgot to mention that full moon that takes place on the 23rd. That's really going to trigger the shared resources side of things. Money, 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 how you work with money. Find out more about that as well in our textual version of the coming month. And do join me here again next month. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.